Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your lunch, and I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting fireside chat. How are you, Chris?
Helena, I'm always better when I get to be with you.
And this is why I'm looking forward to this chat, because Chris is also a good friend, and I also want to hear about all of the great things you've been doing in the last years. But just to kind of give you guys an intro, Chris Maurice is an entrepreneur, writer, and public speaker who has led early developments in emerging industries and markets. He's the CEO and co-founder of YellowCard, which is Africa's largest cryptocurrency exchange, which raised actually the largest Series A round for any African crypto company last year. Chris is continuing to expand YellowCard's presence across 14 countries on the continent and beyond. He has spoken everywhere from the US to Ethiopia, my country, sharing insights into digital currencies with a particular focus on the African continent. Chris's entrepreneurial venture started in high school, paying his way through college, selling Pokemon cards online, and ghostwriting for over 200 publications. He started his fall down the crypto rabbit hole in 2013, which led him to sell Bitcoin out of a network of Taco Bells before starting YellowCard. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in finance from Auburn University. In his free time, he volunteers at a summer camp for mentally handicapped children and adults in Alabama. He also holds a black belt in Taekwondo and has been named an Eagle Scout. Wow. So, Chris, let's get right into it. So tell me your interesting story of how YellowCard has come such a long way on the continent, and just tell us what you've been working on.
Well, Helena, thank you so much for that intro. Your ops people did quite some digging. So yeah, I'm Chris. It's so great to be here with everybody. I think to tell a little bit of the story. So I grew up in New Orleans. And about 5 years ago, I probably didn't know where Nigeria was on a map. They don't teach you nearly as much about Africa in the Louisiana education system as you might think they do. And so, when we got started, we were focusing completely on the U.S. and we were just trying to solve the problem of being able to access crypto in the early days in the U.S. And then, while doing that, out of a network of Taco Bells and everything else that you mentioned, ended up meeting a Nigerian man at a Wells Fargo who was sending $200 to his family, and Wells Fargo charged him $90 to send the money over. And I thought that was ridiculous, right? I talked to the guy. Have you heard of Bitcoin? It's free, it's instant, it's fun, all this great stuff. And essentially, started thinking about this guy's family, right? And what on earth would he do what would his mom do if he sent her $200 worth of Bitcoin, right? Like, her problem is worse now because her money is trapped in cyberspace somewhere. And so just started thinking through, practically how does crypto actually solve that problem, and started doing all the research I could into Nigeria and how does money work, what is the banking system like, all of that. And all of that research led me to meet a random Nigerian man on the internet by the name of Minachi. And I tell everybody that Minachi is the most convincing person that I've met in my life, because within about a month and a half of meeting Minachi, I went and got my passport and took the first international trip of my life on a one-way ticket to Lagos, Nigeria, to meet a Nigerian guy I had met on the internet about a month earlier. So and now we're expanding across the continent. So.
That's a very interesting story. So you never left, but now I think you've made Africa your home, or second home, which is great. Also, please tell us how you have been expanding in 14 countries and how you've managed to grow at this rate, because it is super fast, let me tell you.
Yes. Well, I will say it's a lot more fun and it's a lot faster now that we have some money. Raising money has certainly helped with being able to do it more expeditiously, right? But I think realistically, right, our goal is we want to make this technology available to everyone, every corner of the continent, no matter what currency you're born into, no matter what country you're born in. We want to make sure that people can get in and out of the crypto ecosystem. And so that's really a big goal for us, right? So we want to be everywhere we can. And I think for us, when we think about sort of rapid Pan-African expansion, we rely very heavily on local talent, right? So we want to find the absolute best people that we can in each country that we work in, and just lean on them very heavily in terms of what do you need to be successful, right? What do you need to run this country the way that it needs to be run from a business perspective? And so, yeah, that's really been it, right? It's just relying heavily on people on the ground that know the market way better than any of us ever could.
Yeah, actually, I can vouch for that. You definitely do hire local people, and let me say, I actually really admire that because you don't see many companies doing that. Whether it's in the blockchain space or any other space, you usually see bigger companies working with people maybe wherever they're from. So it's just really good that you're actually working with local talent and creating jobs.
Yeah, we have,
in this region.
We have people in 20 countries now, right? Which I think is a lot more fun. So,
Yes.
yeah, you get so much, the cultures, the experiences, it all blends together. It's a ton of fun, right? So it just makes better business sense, right? There's, hiring like a consultant from the U.S. or something to try to understand how to go into Burkina Faso doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now that we have heard a little bit about you and YellowCard, I think let's dive right into the subject we came to talk about, and it is about the opportunities and challenges in crypto. So for the opportunity, according to research from Chain Analysis, Africa's cryptocurrency market grew by 1,200% to $105.6 billion between July 2020 and June 2021. What would you attribute this growth to, in essence? What are crypto and blockchain solving in this region?
I think, first off, I hope there's nobody from Chain Analysis here, but I'm just going to throw out there that I think that that's wrong. I think that it's a lot more than that, and I think that they're way underselling the continent, right? I think, in that same report we learned that 6 of the top 20 countries right now on Earth for crypto are in Africa, right? And so I think that they're way underselling the amount of growth that the space has undergone in the past year, 2 years, 3 years. Yeah, sorry, what was the question?
So what do you think that crypto and blockchain is solving in this region that is basically growing at this high rate? What's the cause?
It's solving some core issues that banks have not been able to solve on the continent, right? And so I think right now we see people using crypto for payments, for remittance, for savings, for moving money from point A to point B, right, across borders, moving it seamlessly on the internet. And it's solved problems that banks cannot, right? It's provided people with a lot of opportunities, right? We see people every day that have built businesses, have built their lives around crypto, right? And it's provided jobs, opportunities, all of that. Just sort of taking it a step further from there, right? I think with crypto, it just naturally allows people to do things that they would not otherwise be able to do, right? And so the big problem that I think that it's going to solve, right? If you made me pick one over the next 5 years, let's say, is the intra-African trade problem, right? I mean, intra-African trade is less than 20% of trade on the continent, right? Whereas Europe is 70%, North America is 50-60%, right? And so it's not that everybody hates each other here, right? There's so many difficulties in moving money and moving goods, et cetera, right? And so hopefully with things like the Continental Free Trade Agreement and stuff like that, you combine that with the power of crypto and the ability to actually move money seamlessly over borders. I think over the next, let's call it 5-10 years, I think that we finally start to see some of those problems being solved and getting better.
Awesome. Okay, so countries like South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya, from the other countries, actually you do see much higher adoption rate. What do you think is the reason for this?
I think that Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya, it's just a little bit more public. I think people in Nigeria, people in South Africa, people in Kenya caught on early. and tell their friends, and everybody knows, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. Everybody knows what Bitcoin is, right? Especially in these countries. And so I don't think that other countries are necessarily behind, right? I think that they just got started a little bit later, right? And so they are I mean, a lot of the growth is coming from these other countries, right? It's massive in Nigeria, it's massive in South Africa, it's massive in Kenya, in other countries, in Uganda and Cameroon, and I mean, some of these countries, it's just absolutely blowing up, right? And so we're seeing a lot of growth coming from places that I guess you wouldn't traditionally think of, right? Everybody focuses on Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, right? And so we see a lot of growth from places that, like, outside of that you wouldn't traditionally think of.
Yeah. Cool. I do agree, actually. Okay, so now let's talk about the challenges in the space in crypto in Africa. And the first thing I want to ask you about is actually regulations. And I remember actually you, even in Ethiopia, you were actually going yourself to National Bank and talking to these guys, and definitely in Ethiopia, especially talking to these guys is very hard. So I know you're actually doing all the groundwork yourself, which is also great. So tell us firsthand, what are the challenges when it comes to regulation, and how is that stopping the adoption of crypto in this region?
The challenge could be summed up in one sentence, which is just that regulation for crypto does not exist in Africa, right? And so I think first and foremost, the issue is figuring out what the regulation is or what it falls under, and then you have to figure out how to comply, right? And so I think we've tried to take, to your point, right? We've done a lot of the groundwork, right? I've sat in meetings with, central banks and everything in different parts of the continent. And it's a lot of education, right? It's a lot of working with ministers of finance and central bankers and trying to clear up misunderstandings that they have about crypto, right? Trying to make sure that they understand what it is, how it actually works, and what people are using it for. And what I will say, I think one of the trends that we've been seeing, which is very good, and this is happening especially now towards like the end of 2021 and then going into 2022, is that regulators are starting to accept that this is already happening in our country. In every country on Earth, right? Crypto is happening. It's happening right now. It's happening in Ethiopia. It's happening in Senegal. It's happening everywhere, right? And so now these regulators are starting to come around to the fact that it is happening, and they can't stop it. So it's better for them to put out regulations that help to make the industry safer. Right, and so that's what we've started to see, right? And so we worked with like the Bank of Botswana, for example, and now they put out a formal license for the crypto industry, right? Wow. And so we have licensing in other countries where we've been able to work with the regulators and sort of fit into some of the existing regulation, right? And so I think that's in terms of regulation, I would say it's getting better, right? And we're starting to see that trend. So it's still not where it needs to be, and some countries are still behind, but it's getting better.
Actually, it's really amazing. Like I mentioned earlier, YellowCard has expanded in 14 countries, but so not only in the countries that are friendly to crypto. Most countries are not, but also going to Burundi and other countries that's smaller. That's amazing. So now that we've talked about the challenge, but I do want to ask you one thing, because you did say when you go to these central banks, you actually have to educate as well. So I think in this region also, it's important to educate the users about financial literacy. Are you doing anything about this within your organization?
Yes, yeah. So we have a phenomenal piece of the organization called the Academy, right? So academy.yellowcard.io, and essentially what it's set up for is, like you said, for everything from basic financial literacy all the way up to advanced topics in crypto, right? So you can learn how to start thinking about saving, right, or how to save money when you have an irregular income, all the way up to, what is a blockchain? How does a smart contract work, right? And everything in between. And so certainly, when it comes to, we're a mobile app, right? And so, we have users all over the continent, and certainly a lot of it comes down to education, right? Making sure that people understand what they're getting into, right? Making sure that people understand how to look out for scams and things like that, especially in the crypto industry. And so, yeah, we do a lot of work with education and pushing that out, not just with the regulators, right, with consumers as well.
Okay, that's very cool. Yeah, definitely it's needed. I'll also check out the education platform. Seems very interesting. Okay, so now let's talk about the way forward for YellowCard. As I mentioned earlier, YellowCard raised the biggest Series A fundraising for any crypto exchange in this region, which is very amazing. So what is the way forward for you guys? How is the future looking?
Helena, you told me you were going to give us more money. Is that not happening now? It's I mean, look, I think, yeah, it's been great since the raise, right? Like I said, it's certainly, fundraising certainly helps, right, with expansion, with growth, with customer acquisition. I mean, for us, that's the name of the game now, right? I mean, we're in a growth stage, right? We're sort of way past the point of having to prove that it works, right? I think it took us. I mean, when we were raising our seed round, and I was going around telling people that we're going to sell Bitcoin in Nigeria, it took 2.5 years, right? Because I raised every red flag and possible, right? And so now we're past the point of having to prove that it works, which is nice. And so now, now the focus is just on growth, right? It's on getting people signed up, getting people using the app, getting people trading. So making sure that this technology, like I said, is available to everybody.
So many people are saying that it's time to get into the crypto market or risk being left behind. What are your thoughts on this?
Who's saying that?
The people.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the past, the narrative was if you're smart, you're investing part of your money or part of your portfolio in crypto, right? If you're smart as like a fund manager or anything like that, you're investing part of your money in crypto. I think that narrative has changed and should change, right? Now what you should be saying is that you're stupid if you're not investing in some way, shape, or form in crypto, right? I mean, if you have a hedge fund, even with your personal money, right? If you're investing, it is such a natural sort of hedge or what's the word, diversification, right? And so I think it's still not too late, right? It's never going to be too late. Everybody talks about it's too late. It's never going to be too late, right? Crypto's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. And so it's never going to be too late. And I think, I think that narrative needs to change. I think that like if you're not looking at crypto now, then you are certainly behind, right? And so everybody should be looking at it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I agree. Buy and hodl, guys.
Buy and hodl.
All right, so this was very great. I think you've told us a lot about your company and what you're doing, and it's really great. So I think it's time now to maybe take some questions from the audience. Does anyone have any questions for Chris?
Well, not everybody at the same time, please.
Okay, so over here. I like that he's going to get his own mic.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Helena. Thank you for the informative discussion.
No, sir. Thank you.
As a hobby crypto investor myself, what safeguards would you offer the public in case of some of the frauds and hacks that have happened on other exchanges? Thank you.
Yeah, I think for anybody trying to hold crypto long term, I would not recommend holding it on a centralized exchange, right? Because I can sit here and tell you about like how great our security is and all of that, right? But things happen to exchanges, right? And so I would not recommend holding long-term funds on exchanges, right? I think if you're buying for the sake of, I want to buy Bitcoin and I want to hold it and I'm going to hold it for 10 years and it's going to be my retirement fund, right? Then you should be holding that in a wallet where you control the private keys, right? That's at the end of the day, right? I mean, I can talk about, we've done penetration testing and this and that, and it's safe. But at the end of the day, if you're holding it long term, you should always hold it on a wallet where you control the private keys.
Maybe one more question, Chris. I think when we talk about regulation like crypto and blockchain, this seems like a persistent issue. But in general, like in if you talk to any other sector, they also have like regulation problem in general. And in fact, government is very slow in making regulation, and then they should be slow. Otherwise, if they do fast, like how we do it in technology, they will break many things, and if government breaks stuff, it's not really good. But I think aside from regulation, I think one of the challenges like in the blockchain space is scamming. So we know that like there's a lot of scams going on, and it's attractive business. And how do you, like from YellowCard side, like how do you, what do you really do like to mitigate that in one hand? And second hand is like if there is any pattern that you see in the African continent that you can actually like share experience. And my last question is around like, especially as a blockchain crypto company, what do you see is like as a main factor, especially for your early stage success? Because I'm sure there are many young entrepreneurs who want to jump into crypto as building the next company. What do you think is like, the first 6 months, the first 8 months, like was very critical for your business stage?
Yes, so what was the first question? The scams, yes. You're right. When it comes to crypto, certainly there are issues with scams and things like that, right? And really what it comes down to is customer education. Unfortunately, in some countries, we've seen stuff that is completely unstoppable by us, right? So the stuff that we're able to prevent and the stuff that we're able to stop, we do, right? People can't change their Momo number 5 times, right? And we track for suspicious activity and weird transaction volumes, and we track all of that for users, right? But there are some things that we cannot stop, right? We've had users that will download the app, they'll input their ID, they'll load money from their bank account, right? And then they will give their password and their 2FA to a scammer who promises that they're going to trade for them and 10x their money, right? And stuff like that, we have no way of being able to prevent, right? And so with that, it really just comes down to education, right? And so that's again, that's a big part of the academy is we want to make sure that people know, hey, if somebody tells you they're going to 10x your money, they're lying to you, right? that doesn't exist, right? If it did, I wouldn't be here. I'd be on the Bahamas kicking it up with my 10x money. And so it really just comes down to that education factor. And then what was the second part? Yes, early stage. The early stage is that's the fun part, man. That's when that's when you just gotta put it out there and you just gotta get started, right? I think a big mistake that we made early on was, like I said, we're running around telling people we're gonna sell Bitcoin in Nigeria, raising every red flag, right? Nobody wants to bank us, nobody wants to invest. And we waited a lot longer than we should have to just launch it, right? And to just get it going. And so my best advice for like the early days is don't try to wait for funding. It's never gonna come until you don't need it, right? Right? Money is not gonna come. Like once you have enough money, then everybody's gonna want to give you money, right? That's unfortunately how it works more than half of the time, right? And so just get started. Like whatever you're building, get it out there, right? Get it out there, get some traction going, and then like I said, as soon as you stop looking for money, all of a sudden everybody has it.
Very true. Okay, so I guess, I think we're even over time, so we will close it up. Thank you so much, Chris. It was a
Helena,
really nice
thank
chat.
you.